for the YouTube audience, I'm back. Hello. Yeah, so we're gonna do the Black Knight. So typically he's depicted in two ways. He's either got a white cape or a red cape. Often his sort of tabard here is blue, and I like that. I'm probably gonna go with that. And then this stuff, this is all metal and fur, and this is typically this kind of like maroonish red quilting. But the big cape is the one that is often changed depiction. And I don't know if I want to do the white that it's normally depicted, or if I want to do like a red. Hi, Lucas. Congratulations. Everyone give a congrats to Mr. Jabba for his best in show at Nova, or at LVO. So we can either go with the like this like gray white thing that they kind of do, or we can go with like the red. Or I was considering maybe doing a two-tone where it's like red on the outside, white on the inside. And I think I'm kind of leaning that direction. By the way, this was the worst model to put together from Kingdom Death I've had. It was absolutely a disaster. Huge gaps, just really not great. But yeah, I think I'm kind of leaning towards the like white inside of the cape, red outside of the cape. So yeah, I had to use like clamps. So I had like spring clamps that I had to like hold them together while it glued, and then I still had gaps to fill. It was not great. But okay, so things like this area, these are going to be blue. This is going to be like a white gray kind of thing. This off-white inside of the cape. Let me get comfortable. That's my center position. It's been a while since I've painted on this camera. And then we'll go, I think we'll do a red outside. Okay? Very well. So what do we need? Where are we going to start first? I think we'll start just by basing some colors, putting some colors down. We're going to take some Prussian blue here. I'll use some phthalo blue. Phthalo blue. Not too much. I don't need a ton of that. That's more to supplement. How am I liking the Ionic paints? I like them, and I like the new little set. Some of the off-white colors are really nice. There's this one, and there's like an off yellow that's really nice. This one's cool. The ice yellow. The metallics are actually really good, but I basically never use metallics, so I gave them to Roman while I was there because he likes metallic paints. We'll get some of my favorite Elfic blue. I like this color a lot. And then we'll grab some of the ice blue, which has this very nice, like, I want to show you, because I use another color a lot from Vallejo. It's called glacier blue. It can be kind of hard to see the difference, but this is slightly more reddish. This is closer to like an ultramarine blue in color. There's a slightly violet quality to this one, where this is like a more just like standard blue with a lot of white. They're both nice. They serve slightly different purposes. I enjoy my off-whites. Okay. Let's go. So I'm going to start with mixing a shadow color here. Grab a little bit of each. Going for this like nice kind of, not navy, but like dark blue sort of color. Okay, and then all of his tabard area is going to be this, so I can use the zenithal to kind of tell me where these shadows are going to be. So essentially anything that's black is going to get this shadow, and then anything that is the lighter gray primer will get my lights, and then I will work the two in between. Hello everyone. I'm also I'm glad I could keep you company, Ginger Beef, in the while you were sick. I hope you found the videos entertaining. Now we got some new ones for you. Hopefully. We'll be trying to stream a little more. I've got some time between now and the next trip, which is Adepticon. I hope to see some of you there. Maybe some of you are in some of my classes. Okay, so something like that. Will we now, Lucas? You coming to my home show? The Nova? We'll be glad to have you. Okay, so I take a little of the Elphic blue, add a little phthalo to increase the saturation a bit, and then I'm just going to place these lights on everywhere that I have not painted yet. Okay, so like that. How was LVO? I heard some good things there from folks who had previously taken classes with you. Well, I'm glad to hear that. The class was awesome. I really enjoyed the workshop, the space, and all the stuff they provided to the students was really good. The actual event itself was nice. The painting competition has some growing pains, but I think overall it went quite well. Happy that Verko's Vault has taken over the reins. And now hopefully they will be open to suggestions and feedback, and they can make it even better show. Okay, so something like that, right? Now, we can take a mixture of these two. Okay, add a little more Prussian to this guy. We get this kind of intermediate tone, and then we can begin to create these intermediate transition colors. I know I talk a lot about like sketching and kind of blocking in your lights and shadows, but I think it is important and will make your life a lot easier later on. Happy to be back. Today's a good day, you know. I'm back streaming. The Quilting balance data slate came out. One other thing. If you guys didn't know, you are very short on time if you're going to enter the Squidmar painting competition. The Squidmar online, I don't remember. Someone can link it in the chat, please. But if you want to enter that, it's like the last 24 hours, so get on it. Had a chance to hang out with Emil and Lucas at LVO, which was nice. First time having a chance to chat with them in person. The Squidmar Open. There you go. Thank you, Sebastian. Yeah, so if you want to enter that guy, don't hesitate. Better do it. Hi, Sean. Okay, so that's kind of the color I'm going for that, right? Most of this stuff, all of this is all going to be metallics, right? So we've got all this metallic in here, his whole head, the sword. There's some like strapping and stuff in here. Then we got to paint this whole leg as metallic. So really the next like big areas is the cape. Like the cape is the biggest part of this figure. Will I be judging? I am not judging. In fact, I was requested to enter, so I even entered some stuff. I'm judging enough shows this year. I don't need to judge that one too. And I just judged MPO. Okay. So what do we want to use? I think we're gonna go with like a whole red. We're gonna get some colors to use for. We're just gonna put some color down on this little padding. I'm sure this has a term. I don't, if anybody knows what this like style of padding is called. What is that? Antonio JLM. Hello, welcome, and thanks for the Prime. Appreciate it. So we're just gonna use a little of this guy. This quilting. Yeah, it's a quilted pattern, but I don't know if there's like a specific term for this kind of Under Armour. Hey, thanks for the sub. Thanks for the gifted sub to Mr. Jabba. You can use all those special emotes that I don't have. sure I'll come up with one eventually. Ah, yeah, the Gambison. Or if it's French, Gambison. Gambison. Le Gambison. Le Gambison. So I've got every stream I have to do that so that when Tebow watches this tomorrow on YouTube, he can laugh at my French pronunciation. I actually had so on the way to Monty, I road tripped with Thibaut and Maxime Pinot from Secret Workshop. If you don't follow him, he's a Slayer Sword winner, and he's the guy who did the like custom sculpted little Plague Marine, which by the way is absolutely insane. But he had like a book for it was a book of phrases for U.S. soldiers in World War II in France, and they had phonetic pronunciations of French words written like they were written in English. And they made me say a bunch of them. And apparently it worked pretty well. Like, he was like, actually, that pronunciation is quite good. It's funny to see it written that way, and then you pronounce it correctly. Monty was great. Very enjoyable. Got to meet Maxime, hang out with Maxime for a while, and that was really cool. Also got to spend some time with Athami. Got to meet him in person for the first time. Athami Alonso. He was very, very nice guy, and his painting of Saruman and Gandalf were both incredible. Okay, so the cape. Okay, we're gonna go with like, I don't want to go. I'm gonna start with like a cold steel gray, but then I'm gonna warm it up, because what I'm worried about is if I do it too cold, it's gonna be too similar to the armor. So we're gonna shift it in color a little bit to a slightly more like bone-ish white color. So we'll start with this kind of like cold gray. And I'll go to like a bone. All right. Everything we're doing at this stage is just kind of getting base coats on stuff. All right. Oh my days. Hello, welcome. Okay, I want it slightly more blue than that, so I'm going to add a little bit of the Elfic blue. It's good to reuse some of these colors. This is going to help obtain some color harmony. Okay. So if I want a whitish paint, like color, right? It's supposed to be like a whitish material. This is going to be like my shadow colors. Okay. So it's much brighter than maybe you would initially think. Okay, so now you can see when I put it on that it's quite bright. I think this will work well for a like cold gray shadow tone. Just got to get it in there. Whoa. Lucas, man, thanks for the gifted subs. He's got all that LVO money and now he's looking to burn it. I promise that's not quid pro quo for giving him, being one of the judges that gave him Best of Show. There's no collusion happening here. I think we're actually going to just pull him off for a second while I get some of these parts on the underside base coated. Yeah, that's my favorite part of YouTube, is just the rage bait channels. They're really the best. Games Workshop going woke. Henry Cavill leaving the TV show because of them stoties. Can you sense my sarcasm? All right, so see how that kind of works as a bit of a shadow color? Now it looks really flat right now, but as we warm this up and paint the lights section of it. Oh, Jesus, I gotta get way in here. Hold on. Dirt. Just jam some paint down in there. It's fine. Okay, so this is going to kind of function as our shadow color. Are you doing anything fancy for his base? I made a base for him. I kind of want to 3D print or something, some little pottery, because I know his scenery is like a pottery kind of thing. But I just took this like flagstone plastic card. This is how I used to do my Signar bases back in the day. This is like dollhouse plastic card. And you can you just cut it out. So you just take it, mark around it with a pencil, glue it down, and then you use plastic cement to attach it to the base, and it gives a nice like flagstone effect because his arena is like all flagstone and stuff. Yeah, he's hard plastic. This is the hard plastic version. There's a resin version also. The resin version is smaller. And yeah, he was a pain in the butt to put together. He was the absolute worst KDM model I have assembled. I put together the Squires also, so he has like 4 little Squire models. They also were really bad in terms of like mold lines. But whatever. It's part of modeling. He was 100% the worst. Which is, okay, like, it happens, but I actually feel like most Kingdom Death models tend to go together pretty well. So you can see now, like, just the difference between that. This is not white. You can see, like, on the palette paper itself is that we're nowhere near, like, a pure white. But this light gray, this slightly warm gray, works as a whitish tone. And we can push the highlights more, but for right now, like, it gives you the idea of the lights here. And then back here, we've got to, so the cape's gonna wrap over his shoulder like so. Whoa, is that bits? Oh, gifted sub. Michael Paints Minis. Thanks for the 5 gifted subs. I appreciate you. You guys are being so kind. I leave you hanging for 6 months and you come back and shower me with gifted subs. Ugh. Also, I turned 40 while I was gone, while I was on hiatus. I turned the big 40 earlier this month. I'm an old man. Ready to start painting Napoleonics. Oh yeah, Napoleonics and butts, dude. Only lady butts though, okay? No dude butts. Does it feel like, no, I don't feel any different. Am I into historical stuff? I've done some historical models. Like, I can't say I'm really into it. They're not the typical subject matter that I would personally choose to paint. But I have done some. I guess I'm just not really into like military history, right? Like, historical models can be cool, but I'm just not too big into like the military side of it, which is what really it's kind of mostly about with those guys. Okay, so we'll mix a intermediate tone. Like, I have no interest in painting Civil War figures or anything like that. Some historical, like, sports figures and things like that could be cool. I could be down with that. You know, like, and yeah, I guess like medieval knights and stuff is pretty cool. But that tends to be like slightly more on the even the fantasy side. Like, typically when you talk about historicals, it's like Romans and I don't know, that kind of stuff. All right, so we're going to take some more of the bone white. We're going to add a little bit of the ice blue just to cool it off slightly. And then we'll push the light on these even more. Okay, something like that. Going for this like kind of creamy color. all this stuff will have to get blended together, but I'm just like marking out the kind of position of the lights and shadows, okay? And I'll eventually put a highlight on this too, but for right now, this is sort of the blocking in that I mean. Okay, something like such. So we get this kind of grayish blue sort of color, and I'll probably end up toning it down slightly, but we'll see once I get to kind of the armor, how I feel about the color and everything. So he's gonna have quite a bit of like these sort of leather straps, or I don't know if they're supposed to be leather or wrapping, but that may cause some adjustments there. Might even push the white down here a little bit and save this like really bluish tone for kind of like the darkest sections, just like underneath. Right, so I'm not trying to be too fancy, okay? Just blocking the general shapes, right? Okay, now let's take a red well, I like Chimera Red. It maybe is slightly too intense for the kind of mood and atmosphere I'm going for. Let's see what else we've got. No, I don't want magenta. So, oh, this is a new deal. I got this little cart now. So to get all the paints off my desk, you guys aren't going to be able to see this. Maybe if I roll way back. I have this cart with all my paints in it. This is an artist opus. This is a filbert. This is a size. Notice it has no writing on it. This is the, this will come out eventually, but not yet. They are in testing. The prototype, these are prototypes. Some of the students in my class at LVO got their hands on one of these, but we are still finalizing the like sizing of them. So like what the numbers and everything will be called. I was thinking about Cortacci Red, but even that might be a little saturated. It is a good color to like kind of just get a base coat down. If I can find it. Oh, there it is. That's fine. We'll use a little of the red also. Only USA sales? No. Artist Opus is they're based in Britain. I just happen to have a work with them, so they are similar, but they're not the same. So let me see, where is the Chimera one? So here's one of the smaller Chimera ones. Get it nice and pointy so you can see it. The big difference here is I want you to look at the shape. So it might look similar, right? But this one, the Artist Opus, has this like flare on it, right? It has like a rounded belly. This one is more triangular, right? So this is why this one's kind of called like the arrow, right? Where this one has like a bit more of a rounded belly. That does cause some slight differences in how they handle. Now, as you get smaller with these ones, they do tend to function more similarly. Like I think I have some of the smaller ones. Here's a test one. Okay, so this is a small one, right? That's one of the small Artist Opus. So you could see that like as they get smaller, they become more similar. But the bigger ones have more belly to them, so they do tend to paint slightly differently. We're calling these, I think they're going to be called pointed filberts. It is a filbert, so. Where Artist Opus calls Chimera calls these like triangle. Oh, focus. Yeah, see, the triangle. So they're slightly different, but similar. Okay, so some Prussian blue with some Cartacci red. It's going to give me this like nice deep kind of violety blue color. Can use it to desaturate here and push the shadows slightly cool. Get this kind of like wine red. And then anywhere where I see this, right? So we're just gonna block in the shadows. One of the reasons I like this brush is this is the kind of stuff that it's great for. Like you can press lightly and get a nice like thin line, and the direction you hold it. So like if you hold it to the flat side, right? So if I go like this, I can paint thin and really get in these corners. But if I push a little harder, it like really wants to spread out. So like here, right? I'll turn, and then as I press down, I get like this really wide brush stroke. Okay. Very enjoyable for stuff like this. Yeah, the rounded belly on this one makes it a little softer, like softer in terms of like it's not as stiff of a point as the Chimera one. I really don't know what I did with the larger Chimera one. It's around. I have a cup of brushes. And these are all new brushes. I like them. I like the Chimeras. They are both very good. No, not really. It feels very similar in terms of like loading the brush. Nothing really different in that aspect. I have a few brushes. It turns out having a brush sponsor and it being your job to paint like every day, you tend to acquire a lot of brushes. Hello, Ronan. How are you? All right, so like this is too red. I don't want this red, like it to be this red. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take and like cool this off a little. So you can see, like, I could even use the Elphic blue again. You see what the Elphic blue does to the red. It like makes it more this sort of wine red color that I want instead of like a pure red. So you can see that, right? It's not like this like ultra red, which ultra red is cool and all, but it's a fun color to paint, but not the kind of scheme I'm going for on this guy. Hi. Thanks, Ink. Yeah, this year, come say hello. I know I tend to stay pretty busy at these shows, so it can be, and sometimes I can look a little unapproachable because I'm in serious mode or I have somewhere to be. But just say hi. I guess. Maybe it's the constant scowl. I'm just... I'll zoom out a little. I don't need to be this zoomed in for painting this cape like this. It's just base coats. We're just base coating, you know? Thanks, Tractor. The Space Marines one. Did you like that video? It's only my most viewed video by a landslide. And in fact inspired me to teach a face painting class at Adepticon. I'm glad you found it useful. And it never would have happened if the kill team, the scouts kill team didn't come out, because honestly, I don't really paint, all my regular Space Marines have helmets on. Because I just like the way helmets look. I just think helmets are cool. I never, I get why they do it in like Gears of War and stuff where they don't put helmets on the, main characters. But I like my dudes with helmets. Space Marine helmets are scary looking. I think it's cool. But the scouts don't have helmets, so yep. Had to paint some faces. All right, so see, this is what we're kind of going for. It's going to like flip flop, so it'll be white on the inside, red on the outside. I may do something to add some red to the front, but haven't decided yet. Maybe some kind of freehand or something along the trim of the cape. Probably have to weather the cape too, and on the bottom. It's very ragged, so probably want to do some kind of like dirt and weathering, some kind of dusty effect or something. This is a very weird part, because this part of the cape here, this is the back, but then it transitions to the front. So that is very bizarre, and we have to figure out how to make that work. See y'all. I don't know, what about you guys? Are you helmets or no helmets kind of people? Do your spacemen wear helmets or not? I have sort of the same feeling with There's a lot of Kingdom Death survivors, like in the armor kits, that they have the option to either do them with or without helmets. And I'm like, ooh, should I give this guy a helmet or not? Mini Monster Paints, thank you for the Prime. I appreciate it. Helmets off for leaders and characters. See, even now, see, for me, leaders just get an even fancier helmet. You know? I'm good. The post LVO is good. I finished a Kingdom Death Gamblers campaign. The Gambler's Chest. It was quite fun. And now I'm kind of painting this guy. I wanted to paint this guy up so I could start the... so we can use him in the next campaign, and he has his own like mini campaign to play. So I want to do that. Yeah, what's that cross called? The Black Templar cross. Yeah, no, is that the Maltese? Yeah, it is the Maltese cross. There's another cross also, but yeah, the Maltese cross is pretty cool. I think the thing that's weird is like that's not even the Templar cross, right? That's why I'm getting confused, because the Maltese cross and then there's an actual like Templar cross, and those are the what was that unit called? What that knightly order called? The ones with that wore all black with the white cross. Ah, the Teutonic Knights, yeah. God, doesn't Games Workshop know anything? I told you guys I'm getting into historicals. It's that age. Gotta stop painting spacemen and weird wolf knights and just start painting Teutonic knights and I painted a Teutonic knight. That was a candle. And then I burned it. And the remains of that poor guy are at Wizzawa. Yeah. Yep. As soon as you turn 40, it's like, you know, werewolf. You just like, oh, I'm really into World War II and Napoleonics now. Involuntary noises has been for a long time. Don't worry about that. Do you think you'll still be commissioned painting, teaching when you're 40, 50, or when I'm 50, 60, 70? I have no idea. I don't know. I have no, hopefully. I'd make some very dark millennial humor, but I don't think YouTube would appreciate it very much. So I'm going to avoid making any of those sorts of jokes. See you, Scott. Yeah, that was dust, actually. It was like an alternate, like, steampunk kind of future mech World War II. It was actually pretty cool, to be honest. And some of the designs were pretty neat. But I don't know what ever happened to it, or, like, if it's still around. I think it just, that's a hard space to break into, is the miniature wargaming space. Unless you've got Marvel backing you, or Star Wars, can be pretty tough to compete with the giant that is Warhammer. But Elon Musk didn't buy Wizards of the Coast, no? Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast. I don't play 40. I haven't played 40K since 5th edition, so I'd have no idea. I play Dad Warhammer. It's called Kill Team. You only have to paint like 6 models. It's for people who don't have time to paint 2,000 points of models. You can play it on your kitchen table. Honestly, I will say I think it's actually a pretty great game. I'm not a dad. I just refer to it as Dad Warhammer because we can call it Warhammer for people who don't have time. That's a little too bright. I don't want it that bright. Something around there. Maybe I'll have to darken the shadows more. But, okay, so got kind of the idea here with the white inside of the cloak. Obviously now I'm looking at it and I'm like, ooh, this probably needs to be weathered. But I can also probably do that with the airbrush, do some like speckling and stuff to like make the bottom of the cape look sort of dirty and muddy. Probably now would be a good time to just like black out some of these areas. Did Crimson Brush already get a mention? I did not see. I heard it was going on over the weekend, right? How'd that go? Who won? Who took the Crimson Brush? Alexi got best of show. Do I know Alexi? Maybe? What's his Instagram handle? Ah, that one. Looks quite good. I don't need to be super perfect here. I'm just kind of blacking this out because it's going to be metallic and I want to sort of see how it looks blacked out. Hey man, it's hard work and study and focus and everything, you know? Always describe talent is not necessarily just how naturally good you are at something. It's your potential to learn fast. And I think anyone can get to that same level with enough practice, but talent is your capability to learn at speed. Like just how fast you catch on to something. Not necessarily your potential. Hi, Jonas. Okay, let's see. I think his hands are actually showing. I'm having a hard time telling. I might have to look up a picture of him. I think he's wearing like kind of leather straps around. There's some of this like scale mail here, and this is metallic. But I think his actual hands are like exposed. I heard there's an expression about painters in Sydney, and it involves spiders. All right, I'm liking that. So it's just blacking this out kind of helps see the silhouette a little better of what's going on. Just like kind of getting a sense of the armor. I always like starting from black on metallics anyways. I already knew that one. He didn't teach me that one. I got that one from the big Dino himself. Well, like cactus and was it bungee smugglers, and what other good ones are there? My Aussie accent? Nah, I didn't talk in my Aussie accent. I don't want to offend anyone, you know. No, I've got a fair dinkum Aussie accent. Budgie smugglers. Like, okay, the bird. We don't have budgies. Well, thanks for your vote, Tim. I didn't realize. American can't soften the C word enough to use it and sound true blue Aussie though. No, I'm not gonna amongst friends I'd throw it out as a joke, but on here I'm not dropping the C word. I'll use bloke and any of those other ones that you want, but not that one. It's too far. Oh, you're talking about crikey? Yeah, that's not the one I'm talking about. I know you guys use the other one too, and the one the British really like. Probably the most offensive curse word in American. Gloomzord, thanks for the prime. Dobby lol, thank you. The follow? Oh no, Gloomzord follow. Thanks for the follow. Yeah, I didn't realize how. Yeah, it's not a good one. But you know, we say stuff like bloody is like nothing here, and like in Britain, that's like an actual curse word. I'm like, what? Like, okay, whatever, bloody. Tractor Tarzan, appreciate the prime. Thank you. All right, and we just get a little bit more coverage here. So I think the base coats, like generally pretty good. I need to figure out what the heck is going on with these straps, whether they are supposed to be like fabric, whether they're supposed to be like bandages, or whether they're supposed to be leather straps. I'm not quite sure. And then yeah, but it's been what, an hour and 20 minutes. I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna use the restroom, have a dart, and then I'll be right back. All right, we are back. So let me look up KDM Black Knight. Let's see, like the official artwork. It appears he is wearing gloves, maybe. And these little straps are in fact some kind of fabric. So these will be probably the same color as the kind of the fur. Another kind of bone color, like one of my personal favorite tones. Shake it up. Like some ground brown, some Pisarski ground brown is this nice neutral color. So it looks like he's got some sort of fabric underneath that's like this sort of deep, like reddish sort of tone. It's like this kind of purpley red color. We can use the whole red. Mixed with some of the Prussian blue. And it's just a good color, man. It's like, it's got some nice, slightly purple. It's like a khaki, but it's like slightly purplish feeling. It's good. It's a good color. Good job, Michał. Ground brown. Richard. Yeah, so these are like some kind of leather. So we're gonna go with this more kind of reddish leather sort of look here. I don't know if that's supposed to be a strap, or I'm going to paint that like, I'm just going to paint it over it. I think that might be a strap, but who knows. Sometimes it's very difficult to tell. Because, you know, when a sculptor doesn't know what to do with something, when in doubt, just put straps on it. It's an easy way to like add detail to areas that are kind of lacking. And I'm not just going to blame sculptors. It's also designers' fault. There is much to blame. Okay, so now we can take this sort of brown color, and this is going to be our base for the fur. See, it's just like a nice, like neutral brown color that's a bit desaturated. There's nothing overly. It's just a color that works well as like a good neutral tone, you know? Let's go with the big boy. Am I getting Discord notifications? I shouldn't be getting that. Quit. Archy Priest paint. Do I mainly use Chimera? I use whatever I like, but mainly is, I wouldn't say mainly. I use a mix. I would say I use about 50% Chimera, 50% Vallejo. I've also been using the Ionic paints recently. Recuerdos de Madrid. Hola. No quiero alimentación. Wait, what's the word for food poisoning? It's intoxicación alimentaria. I learned that one because it happened. Alimentaria, yeah. Yeah. Learned that word. Learned it all too well. Thank you, Scoozy. Glad you got to, that you enjoyed seeing it in person. Well, we didn't eat sushi from a gas station. No, it was just a local restaurant. I don't know what happened, but a lot of people got sick. I mean, it was a very bad day. All right, so that's kind of the fur base coat color. What? Ginger beef? What? Huh? Or something like that. Yeah, it was brutal. It was not fun. But anyways, other than that, I have nothing but positive experiences in Spain. You know, other than all the Spanish people. That's a joke. I like Spanish. Speaking of Madrid, did Real Madrid win today? They were winning when I looked last. They were up 2-0 against Brest, beating the French. Nah, man. I won't lose box art contracts. I've never met a more self-hating group of people, actually. I think the Spanish would tell you. They'd be the first to be like, yeah, Spanish people suck. I spent like a week at Mark's. We worked in the studio, and it was a good time. Taught a workshop there. But they're not Spanish. Okay? This is important to remember. They're Catalan. Like I was saying about self-hating Spanish people. It's an important distinction. Is this a personal mini? This is a personal mini. This is for my own personal Kingdom Death collection. I plan to roll dice around this guy. Can't wait to beat him up a little bit. Am I you mean football? Are we talking American or, soccer? And the answer would be not really either. I don't care that much. My sport of choice is MMA. It's the one I watch. I tend to varnish, some of these pieces that I play with. I like how excited people get about international football, though. It's very fun to be around people that are very excited about it. Who's my favorite fighters at the moment? Do I have favorites? I like Max Holloway. I like Justin Gaethje. I like Islam Makhachev is a beast at the moment. I like him. I guess I tend to like the lightweight division just in general. Is like the more interesting division to me. I like Alex Pereira. Chama. He's a monster and seems like a nice guy. Who else? I tend to not like the overly loudmouthed people. No, I can't say I'm a big fan of Stipe. He's time to retire. Jones does need to stop dodging Tom Aspinall. I like Dustin Poirier. Again, another dude in lightweight. I could tell you plenty of people I don't particularly like. Most of them are the super egoed fighters. I don't like Ilya. I'm not a fan of Ilya Topuria. I'm not a fan of Ian Gary. That guy's super annoying. Ian Machado Gary. Yeah, I never used to like, it's funny, I never used to like Michael Bisping. I always found him super irritating, and yet I love him as like a commentator now. I think he's hilarious. As a fighter, he was super annoying. As a commentator, he's great. All right, just kind of basing that to get it, sort of get a feeling for it. All right, so like color scheme wise, he's kind of coming together, right? Randy Couture seemed like a good guy, yeah. The Chael P. Sonnen, the P stands for undefeated. Yeah, he's another one that like was annoying as a fighter, but as a commentator is also really funny. Yeah, they from the Ultimate Fighter Brazil. Well, that dude's Vanderlei Silva's a definition of like meathead MMA fighter. No, of course not. I did not care about Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson at all. I'm not interested in clown shows. Great job, guy. You beat up a 60-year-old man. Even if that 60-year-old man is Mike Tyson. And, put a bunch of stuff in your contract about him, like, making less money if the fight ended, like, in the early rounds. It's not fighting, it's just stupid. All right, let's zoom in a little here so we can see some of the more detail parts. Now I'm going to start to put some lights on the cloth. Man, that guy, I feel bad for Mighty Mouse. Like, I hope he gets in the UFC Hall of Fame at some point because, like, he was really good and sadly was just not great at selling himself. Am I pumped for Golden Demon? Actually, I am. I mean, not personally, like on a I'm going to compete level, but I am optimistic about this year's Golden Demon. Hi, Chue. And that is all I will say. Because, yeah. I was supposed to be winning the sword this year. I don't remember anyone saying that. You know something I don't? I may. So, my roommate, who used to do Gundams with me, may have bought a bunch of these tiny Gundams. And I may have ordered a master grade kit that I didn't realize came out. I don't know. Where do you get the? I don't know. Amazon? I honestly don't know where he ordered them from. So here, I'll show you one. He put one together. So this is the size of one. And here's a Kingdom Death model for comparison to give you the kind of size of one of these. I may have ordered the Master Grade Mark V from P Bandai because it's one of my favorite designed kits that I did not know they made a master grade of. Back when I was into it, the Gundam Sentinel was like my favorite designs. Gonna paint it probably at some point, but not like this. Do I know what to look for? Hold on, let me see if they are called Gundam Artifact. And these are here, let me put the... So there's a few different ones in here. He got a couple others too. He got another series. This is another one of the designs I really like. If I was going to paint one of these, it would probably be this guy. So this is like the EXS is like my favorite designed Gundam. I have a 1/100th one that I painted. It's huge. But I also really like the Hainu. So this is the Hainu. But yeah, it looks like these tiny ones are called Gundam Artifact. And their scale is... They're 55 millimeters. But in terms of scale, so they're probably like 1/250th or something like that. Maybe even smaller, 1/300th scale. Have I ever taken out the Gundam for you guys to see? I know this has nothing to do with painting the Kingdom Death model right now, but I can show you my my Gundam if you want. Da-da-da-da. This is what I did before I was into miniature painting. He's dusty. I also did car models when I was young. Not a lot of them, but yeah, I did a couple. No, it's painted on. The Digi Camo was a lot of cutting little squares of masking tape and applying the masking tape in a digital camo pattern and then airbrushing the two-toned Digi Camo. So perfect grade is 1/60th scale, 1/100th is master grade scale, 1/144th is high grade scale. And then, yeah, these things are tiny, so I don't know how big they are. I'm not familiar. I mean, maybe I've seen Stoke models, but I'm not familiar with it. Yeah, I like some Gundams, you know. Yeah, 1/100th is like a more average scale. That just the EXS just happens to be like a gigantic kit. It's just it's a big mobile suit. Oh, I watched many a movies while just like sitting there slicing and applying little squares. Can I enter a Gundam in Nova vehicle? Yeah. Well, sure. I don't think it's any different than like entering a Titan or a Knight, you know? So, if you want. At SMC, they call it the Rise of the Machines category, I think is what it is. It goes in science fiction, but then they have like a special subcategory. Ava are not mechs. I'm sorry. They're not mecha. I guess technically they're like in the mecha genre, but they're not mechs. Dude, the new Gundam that's designed by the guy who worked on Ava are some of the ugliest designed Gundams I've ever seen. They're so weird. Gundam GQUUUUUUX. So, I mean, Ethan, you're out of line, but you're not wrong. If anybody's familiar with him, Calamity. He's an Italian modeler that does some pretty crazy mecha. Often comes to Monte because, you know, he's Italian and he's brought some of his kits before and they are crazy. They are very cool. Calamity is, I'm sure someone can link his Instagram, but it's like KL. Yeah, KL. I'll just type it out. It's two L's. KLAA. KALLAMITY. Calamity. He does some bonkers, like super detailed, kind of diesel punk mech designs, I would say. Nice guy, too. It was really cool getting to see some of his figures in person. Some of them are huge, by the way. If you thought that figure I showed was big, like, nah. Nah. Like absolutely bonkers big kits. He needed like his own table for some of them. Sure, he won Best of Sci-Fi that year also. I consider that like World Model Expo, though. It's just like you're at a disadvantage. Like there's too many figure painting judges and their bias shows too much. You're just fighting an uphill battle trying to win against more traditional like figure painting. All right, so some of the cloth. Have we stopped saying scripted? Everything's scripted. It's not scripted, it's just bias. There's a difference. Are you wet blending or glazing that fabric? That was glazing. I was doing some glazing. I don't do a whole lot of wet blending. Not big on the wet blending. Honestly, it's kind of, I think, too small of an area to really get much out of it. The technique, that is. That's fair too. The one the judges can agree, like, yeah. Like, it may not be any of our favor, but it's the one we can all agree on. It's the compromise. Yeah, I would say the same with mine, honestly. The Tauren definitely has some elements that would appeal to historical judges. It's almost like I thought of that when I was doing it. The Native American aesthetic would certainly appeal to some historical judges. Gotta play that game, you know. Yeah, good thing Bill Horan. Actually, he liked it. He's seen it, but um, I mean, he voted for it for Best of Fantasy at MFCA, so. case. Look. Contests are contests. There's none of them are ever going to be like perfectly objective or anything. So if you want to compete, it's just part of the system. Thanks, Tractor. Unless the judging team is like really small, but typically at these big shows, they're like a big jury of people. I don't think people would like me very much if they heard me judge, so well, at Nova, it's the Masters judges just choose basically best in Masters, and that's the best of show. Because if one of the figures in Standard was good enough to compete for best of show, we would just move it to Masters. In terms of selection, we it's two judges, and we just pick which one we think is the best. There's a lot of judges at like a show. I think Monty has 17 judges. Yeah, 17. And you vote with the other judges, and you do like rounds of elimination. So you vote on what you think the best figure is, then depending on how many votes it gets, it'll either continue in the voting process and you slowly eliminate the model with the least number of votes, or models with the least number of votes, until you get to the final 2 models or 3 models, and then whichever one has the most votes becomes the best of show. So you have the singular, what's it called, judge. You have the like science fiction judge who's normally by himself. This year it was Robert, or like the scale modeling judge who basically does the whole thing on their own. So it's what, No, I guess that doesn't make sense. It's not 16 though, because then you have even numbers. Or maybe it is 16. It's 5 teams to 3, and then ordinance. You have a singular judge. Because yes, it can tie. And then if it ties, you revote. Or something like that. I don't remember exactly how many. I don't remember the exact breakdown, but I thought you couldn't tie. Were you at LVO? Yes, I was at LVO. I was a judge and I was teaching a painting workshop. I also got 3rd place, tied with Africa Mir in the judges' fan vote. Speaking of playing the game, 10 Marsh won fan vote with a giant dragon to absolutely no one's surprise. Nah, I don't think Big Space Marine is the way to go for the people entering the painting competition. So at Nova, it used to be that literally any attendee of the convention could enter or could vote for their fan favorite. But what ended up happening was all the 40K tournament players would just vote for a Titan every year. So a Titan would just be like, okay, guess what? A Titan wins best of fan vote again. Because it's the biggest model. Now it's limited to the participants of the painting contest. So now we get a much more diversified fan vote. Hello, Mr. Major Asnable. You missed our whole conversation about Gundams. I'm sorry. Yes, this is the reusable membrane. The washable one. All right, so what part do I want to work on next? Little baby stapler. I think I want to work on taking a quick break, but we've got kind of like the base coats and everything down now. So just the general color blocking and everything on him is done. So now we can kind of start to focus on more specific areas of the figure, right? Okay. I'm going to take a take 5 and I'll be back. And then we can figure out what part specifically we want to work on. I will be right back. Hello, hello. I always wanted to get Kingdom Death Core Bot. You should, because it's cool. It's a fun game. Find people to play with. There's also a simulator version that I've heard is pretty cool. And there's a Discord where people like meet and can find some play groups there, so you could try it out. I don't know how expensive the simulator version is compared to the physical one. Obviously, I would go with the physical one, but it is a game you can technically play by yourself. I know Trent plays by himself. It's a fun one. I enjoy it a lot. So I'm thinking about just like jumping straight into the metallics because they're kind of the fun part of this figure. Let's do it. Let's start sketching some of the metallics. Because why not? I think his sort of onion helmet is probably the most distinguishing feature of this character. Now, I do need to remember, no, I don't have to follow the official scheme, but knowing what is gold and what is silver does help a little. Looks like all of that is silver on his helmet. I don't know if I've mentioned it, but he is my personal favorite designed character, I guess. Monster in Kingdom Death. I think he is very cool. Oh yeah, he's a terrible figure to assemble, but he's just a super cool design, so. You know, not every figure is going to be a joy to put together. You were told Kingdom Death is brutally hard. I think of it like you can compare it to like Elden Ring or Dark Souls. Are they hard games? Yes. But the more knowledge you have of those games, the easier those games become. Right? So a lot of what makes Kingdom Death difficult is like actual game knowledge. So knowing like what this monster does, how his trap works, what items and equipment you should be looking to build, what abilities synergize with each other. Right? There's a lot that goes into eliminating some of the like risk. Like, oh, fist and tooth is an option. Like you can literally like not use a weapon, you can just bite and punch people. Oh, you win. I've won. Yeah, exactly. It's like learning a boss's patterns in Elden Ring when you start to learn how his deck works. So, like, let's use the lion as an example. The white lion is the first monster you fight in the game. Okay? You can play up to 4 in Gambler's Chest. You could kind of play with 5 if you want to have one person control the scout. But that would be kind of boring for that person because the scout doesn't do a whole lot. All right, anyway, so like the white lion, right? He's the first fight of the game. Okay? And when you attack a monster, they have these things called reactions. Okay? Reactions are typically not a good thing. Okay, you don't want it's like you go to wound the monster or do whatever, and then the monster has some sort of recourse after you attack, right? How many do I personally play with? I've played a campaign with my roommate where it was just the 2 of us, and then I've played also campaigns with 4 people. So the white lion typically has his reactions either involve him running forward or jumping backwards. So it's often best to attack him from the flank. So you attack, the monster is on squares, you can either attack him from the sides, right? Or you can attack him from the front and back. You don't want to attack the lion from the front because he has a tendency to run forward after you wound him, and he grabs people in his path. So knowing that mitigates some of the risk involved. Now, then you have the screaming antelope, which is the second monster. The screaming antelope is very weak to reach weapons, so things that can attack from 2 squares away or diagonally. The screaming antelope basically can do nothing. His reactions have essentially no effect on anyone that attacks him from the corners. Okay, so if you attack him if he's in a square, right? If he was in this square, okay, and there's a grid like this, he takes up 4 squares. right? If you attack him from this square, he can't really do anything against you. So that's kind of what I mean by like learning how these monsters sort of react, and that can help a lot to mitigate some of the potential damage you might take. Yeah, it's really fun to play with just two. That was falling grass. That was the wrong color. No, that's morning sky. Looks very greenish. I don't know. Whatever. We're just going to mix our own steel color here. They're slightly different than the atom, but essentially they're the same. And what is my single favorite paint that's not Chimera? Ionic? I don't know. There's Vallejo paints I like. Wouldn't even say I have a single favorite paint. There's ones that I go to a lot, but I don't know. It depends on what I'm painting. But yeah, that's about like the game being hard. Yes, it is hard, and it's going to punish you the first time you play it because you haven't learned these things. You might be like, oh, this weapon sounds cool, I'm going to build that, and then you find out it's not that good. Are my colors pre-thinned? No. No. I control all of my dilution on the palette. So it's like a mix of on the palette and the brush. I can see like how it's reacting on the paint. That's why I do this kind of thing where I check. And if I need more water, I can add more water, like by dipping it in the water. And I can control the dilution that way. I don't like pre-thin any of my paints in the bottle or like add water to my palette. Because I'm looking for a specific dilution. It's just like mixing paints, like knowing how to mix on the palette. You don't ever need to like use recipes, right? I mean, there are ones I grab a lot. Like I would say things like this, right? Like glacier blue, like I use a lot because I don't use a lot of pure white, so I tend to grab those sorts of colors. But only assist speaks in absolutes. Or deals in it. I don't know what the line is. Yep, this is all Chat GPT. And I'm not actually painting this model. This is all Sora AI generated. The key is you gotta watch to see how many fingers I have. All right. This stuff is tiny. I need my eyeballs. It's coming out. Turn 40. Time to bust out the too many small parts, and I have to stay on camera, so it's harder to see some of these details. Normally I would paint it with like 3 inches from my face, but because I have to paint on camera and stay here, I need a little assistance. And oh, that's very red. Grab from this side. Okay, so let's make sure we're on camera. All right, so that's where these main highlights are going to go. Put another one here. I'm just kind of marking areas where I think the main highlight's going to end up on some of these metallic elements. I know like one's going to be around here. I'll clean that up, but I just want to see where they're going to be. There's going to be some around here, probably one here, here, here. And there'll be some on this tooth, kind of like this. Probably some right here. Okay, so something like that. That is just there to act as a guide. So I kind of know where these main lights are going to be. So the helmet is quite round, okay? So I want to paint this sort of spherical. So that main highlight is going to go more towards the center and be kind of rounded. So as I go, I'm going to start to like round this out a little bit. All right. What are the light sources environment? Dude, I'm kind of just going for like a general top-down light. The environment of KDM is impossible to describe. It is it is a world that exists in darkness and everyone carries lanterns, but that is not an interesting way to paint figures with just lantern light. So number one, I particular. Hello. So we kind of have to sort of make it up. You could say that there's a sun, but turns out the sun is actually just some monster that emits light from it. It's very weird. It's all weird, okay? Don't think too much about it. All right, so I can't leave just the bottom part of the helmet dark. I need some kind of reflection here. I'm going to go slightly more brownish for the lower part of the helmet as it reflects a bit of the fur collar. You guys see that? Making sure I'm not all in front of the camera. It probably would have been easier to paint if I left this collar thing off, but oh well. I'm not trying to win a painting contest with this guy. I'm just having fun getting my gaming models painted, you know? How do I still have red? There. Left a mark on his forehead. He's got red lipstick on his face now. I will be back next Wednesday. Yeah, that's the plan. Gonna do this more often. Okay, so it's important to get that shine. I really want to define these like face slits. Hi, Dave. Okay, something like that. It's looking kind of shiny, you know? Going for this mirror ball kind of effect. Yes, I am teaching a Nova. I'll be there. So, right. So make sure that these are all nice and well defined. Any idea on classes that are 1 to 2 day there? I do know which classes that are the pre-convention workshop, but I am not going to share that information because I don't know if they've made it public yet. So sorry. I wish I could tell you, but until they say it's fine to do so, keeping my mouth shut. All right, so that's kind of the idea with the top. Now I need to define the bottom a little more. I want to add a little bit more of this lower reflection. Some of the reflection of the, a little more reflection of the fur. Something like this guy. Right, you can see this kind of brownish reflection down here. And we'll add more inches as we go, but this is just to get like some general color on the lower half. In the face slits, I want to make sure they're nice and sharp and thin. So it may require like painting them back in black and then going back over them again to define them even more. Something like the helmet here is a piece of this armor that, or of this figure in general, that I'm a little more willing to spend some extra time on because it's, you know, the most defining feature of this character. Like his helmet is very distinct. Yeah, helmets are cool. Dude, the samurais knew about cool helmets, you know? Putting demon faces and stuff on their helmets. They know what's up. Thanks. No, Dave, you've never fought this guy. I've never fought this guy either, to be fair. But no, we have not. Have you played pinball in KDM yet? Because that's what this guy does. Not pinball. I guess it's kind of pinball. I was thinking of like Breakout or something. He sends you like flying around, bouncing around the arena, and he tries to like knock you off the edge of the board and kill you. So his his arena is supposed to be like on top of a cliff, and he tries to knock you off the edge of the arena and send you flying off the map to your doom. So that's kind of the like mirror ball effect that we're going for. And then I can begin to introduce more little variety in things. Smooth this stuff out. One trick here is to like take on that edge. Right, so I've got that edge highlight. I'm going to use like a dark line on the other side of that edge to create even more contrast on that edge. Okay, so something like that. And then we need one more layer of like a white. Just use pure white. You're going to see that this looks much brighter than even what I have here, where it's like this spot looks quite bright and intense, this main reflection. But if I use some pure white, very limited, right, it pushes that reflection even a little more. So I want to be kind of limited with how much I use this, just to like create little dots and things. To create some final kind of shines on the armor. Something like that. All right. Now, I'm going to take some of this darker gray, and I'm going to get it into like a glaze. Begin to smooth some of this out. push some of that steel grayish color back in. With a mixture of these two, so if I take some of the ground brown and the blue, I can get a more neutral gray. This will work well to do things like paint the collar here, where it's like, is it reflecting the fur or is it reflecting just something metallic? Maybe it's reflecting the ground that's like gray stone. It's not sorcery, it's illusions. Okay. So that kind of gives the effect there. This sort of mirror ball. We could play around adding more colors later, but I want to get a bit more of the rest of the helmet. So we need to think here on this part of the helmet, what are going to be the parts that are reflecting the most. It's going to get a big reflection on this part of the nose here. These sorts of parts here will get a good reflection. This. Just always think the opposite color. So what color is this? Bluish, right? What color is this? Brown. So it's mostly orangish, right? You mix the two together, ta-da, gray. Why? Because they're complementaries. You're not going to get a perfect neutral gray from these two, but you get pretty dang close. Alright, and then for the back side of the helmet, we need to kind of do the same, create another spot where it's going to reflect the most. So maybe we'll do the 180 and have here be the main reflection point. Can also introduce some of these like little secondary flares. Hey man, color's weird, you know. The color constancy. It's a whole thing. What color is the dress? All right, real quick. I'm gonna take some of the black, thin it out into like a wash, and just go over this real fast. Bring back some of these little bits of detail that I lost, like around his teeth and stuff. It's the joke. If you take in one of my workshops, I talk about the. You guys remember the is it blue and black or white and gold dress meme from back in the day? There's a big argument on the internet. You don't remember that one? Dude, that was everywhere for a while. It was like 10 years ago. It's been a while, to be fair, but I was like, wait, you've taken my workshop. You should remember that. No, it doesn't have any paint on it. It is, I wash it first. So it has been, I mean, maybe there's some trace amounts of paint, but I wash it and I rinse it first. And then I wipe it off on the paper towel. And then I just shape it on my tongue. It's fine. Yeah, we're a bunch of paint eaters. And I promise there is no toxins. I'm a certified brush licker and I'm not going to apologize. You know, I get way more carcinogens about every hour. Yeah, that's weird. Loading the brush and then licking it. Why would you do that? What's the point? What's the point of that? I don't even get it. Why? The paint's already wet. It should shape. It should. you know? I just also roll it a little bit on the palette as I do it. I hear this tiny line that I'm kind of painting. Maybe you can see this. I'm trying to create a little bit of definition between the other part of the helmet. So you can imagine that like some light hits the mustache here. The mustache of this face. And kind of reflects back onto the other part of the helmet. Yeah, so he's a monster. So he's quite large. So this is him. And then if you compare him to, I happen to have a white speaker right here, even though she's pretty tall, like this is the size of a human. So yeah, he's pretty big. He ain't here to mess around. Yes, he is a very large dog man. How many sessions? I don't know. It depends on if I do any work off stream, like that's like, oh, you don't need to watch me paint these shin guards because you already watched me paint the helmet. But I have no idea. Why, are you bored of him already? You want me to paint something else? You're like, I'm over this guy. Just want me to get to Napoleonics already? oh, when are you gonna paint a? Dude, I don't know. I was gonna make up some like cavalry number and whatever else, and I have no idea. That's the joke, Shabuto. It's not an option. It ain't happening. One actually kind of historical figure that I think could be a little fun would be a Polish Knights Hussar. I think that could be like kind of interesting. Those guys were pretty cool looking. The winged hussars. I just did a gladiator. I literally just painted a gladiator. How do you choose the models you paint? So sometimes they're customs where I've helped in the design or the selection of like kind of the subject matter. Sometimes they're box arts where companies approach me and say, hey, do you want to paint this figure for us? Other times they're personal projects, which are less often, but they're like gaming figures of mine that I want to work on. So depends if we're talking for work or for fun, for funsies. Turns out, even though it's my job, I still actually just enjoy painting miniatures. So oh, don't worry, there's works in the pipeline. There's always orcs in the wings. Just waiting. I would paint more Kingdom Death models on stream, but sadly, most of them are not Twitch friendly. I would say most of them, but quite a few of them that I need to paint still or not. Works with a C, not with a K. Are there any favorite mixes for fur effects? No. We don't do pre-mixes. You'll find no recipes here. Yeah, I want to paint the Savage Bone Eaters at some point. And they're basically just Greek statues, but can't have private parts, even if it's based off of like Greek statues. Can't have that. Did he really? Well, whatever. He just didn't care, huh? No. Because most of the time I end up just using whatever kind of color I have as a general sort of shadow. Like everything on him is like, I'm not using Prussian blue and everything, but if you notice, all the shadows are shifting towards blue. I have no idea. I think you can actually get banned for having that stuff. And I'd prefer just not to deal with it. Hello, old Andy Conda. Andy Conda. It's not necessarily about desaturation. Like sometimes I use warm shadows, sometimes I use cold shadows. Here, everything is like shifting towards a bluish tone. I tend to paint the Kingdom Death models a little more desaturated because it is a dark fantasy setting, so I don't tend to go like hyper cartoony with them. I'll occasionally add like some brighter elements or more saturated colors to certain characters, but most of the time it tends to be like browns and grays to maintain that dark fantasy vibe. But my Dragon King, for example, is like super bright red. He's like really red. Okay, I'm trying to think anything interesting here because I haven't been talking about much about the process of really what I'm doing on the helmet and stuff recently. I've just kind of been going through the motions. But it's a very similar process to basically what I've been doing on the front of the helmet. Just like working towards the lights, thinking about the shapes. Did he? Did I not see that one? The little lion paw thing up on top here. Make sure some of these really catch some light. Mr. Fernando Ruiz. Got to hang out with him in Barcelona too. He showed me around the like nerdy district of Barcelona, and there's like a bunch of comic book stores and model shops, stuff in there. I got recognized in a model shop, and they asked me to take a selfie with them, which was weird, but it's cool. Weird, and not that I was like, oh, don't ask me to take a picture. Weird in that, like, I'm not used to that sort of thing. Yeah, the bookstores were cool. They had some very large ones with like some with like a lot of old books, and then he's a dog. It's pretty big comic book stores and stuff too. He's a dog man. You can't tell because of his helmet, but yeah, he's like a story is like he was a dog owned by some knight, and then she died, and through whatever weird kingdom death logic, he turned into a knight. But he's also kind of crazy. Yes, kind of like Splinter, actually. but more crazy. Because apparently he's, I think, I haven't played his campaign yet, but I think he's a bit on like the feral side. Here I'm just trying to get some highlights, some highlight reflections on some of these strands. I'm going to make sure that the nose is nice and highlighted here. One thing about when doing, I guess I can kind of explain when doing metallic like this on these really small elements, is you can kind of bridge some of these connections. And it's going to make the metallic is very weird, and you have, let's use the Red Bull can as an example. You'll often have like reflections in the recesses, so like you can see here, right? Like where do you get reflections, right? You get it on the edge here, right? But then you also get it like on this inside lip here. You get it on this edge, right? But then like you're getting a reflection on the inside lip of the can too, right? Where it's like down inside here. So a lot of times these reflections will kind of like, how do I describe it? It's like they like bridge across between, right? So it's like here, this reflection comes down, and then it splits into two, but then like this reflection's kind of joined here. This happens a lot. Yeah, kind of like painting abs, but more, which that's what those lights in between abs are, is reflections of light. Yeah, it happens a lot with like this sort of very heavy metallic. Let me see actually. Okay, this is not me trying to show off. It's just me thinking of an example of something I have where it's got very sculpted detail. Okay, and it's shiny. So like when you have something that's this shiny like this, right? And you have all this detail in here. When you angle it, right, you start to see these reflections that like bridge in between, right? So it's like this is a recess right here. But if you angle it right, you can see that like little line that connects in this reflection point. And all these little details in here, they often have these like little lines, these thin reflections in the recesses that kind of bridge these shapes together. Okay. Here you can really see the light like showing up in the recess. And this is based on the like the angle of the reflection, but yeah, it happens quite a bit. So right, like on the the lettering, you can see like the shine inside the letters. But anyways. Yeah. So it doesn't happen all the time, but you can include a bit of that, and it helps create like a little more of that effect. Because like here, realistically, you should probably have like a reflection like almost inside the nostril, right? That may have been too much, and I can tone that back down. But based on the angle, there should probably be a reflection there. Well, it's never with metallics, it's never on top anyways. Reflections are always halfway between. Okay. Let's see. All right, we're going to do another example. Okay. You can see this is like super bright. That's because the light and the camera are in the same plane, right? So you get this extremely bright reflection like right in the middle. But for me, okay, guys, like from my viewing angle, this is the camera's viewing angle. The brightest reflection is right here. Okay. But for me, the brightest reflection is right here. Okay. Because I'm at a different angle than the camera is. So the angle is always halfway in between. And because we look at it like straight on, right? I'll zoom out even more. You can see that, look, this is where the reflection is for you guys in the top right corner, right? I'm pointing at it in the top right. Yeah. See this camera angle? Look where the reflection is for that camera. It's right here. But then if I'm not moving the brush, look back at the main overhead camera and where the reflection is. It's in a different position. Yeah. So when you're painting from the main viewing angle, the light, this light shifts forward towards the main view. Okay. Only time that you would paint it directly on top, like right on top, is if the viewing angle was directly from above and you were looking like in the main viewing angle was looking down at the model. Maybe if a lady, like say you were painting a lady like laying in a lake or something. You know, I've seen a model like that. I think Ignis does one like that where she's like laying down in water, right? But then it wouldn't be on top, it would be directly in front because the main viewing angle is directly in front, and the light position would basically be where your eyes are, assuming that the sun is directly overhead. Stuff and things. There's things going on, okay? And speaking of things, actually, we've hit about 4 hours. It's 10. I still have to do some other work tonight. So, I think we're going to call it. I appreciate you guys all coming to hang out and watch the first stream back. I will be back, I promise. But yeah, so Thanks. And More Than Dice raid. Hi. Hello, 2 people. Guess what? You're going to someone else. Thanks for the bits. Kanushka. Kanushka? I don't know. I'm trying. Okay. I'm gonna hit stop the recording. Thanks, YouTube people, if you stuck all the way through this.